Rebecca here from Fortune Valley Farm. I just wanted to give everybody a little update of what's happening here on the farm. So today is June 23rd, maybe 24th. Yeah, June 24th. And it's been a long, hot, sticky day because this is just a few days after the solstice. So you can't see the whole tree here, but you can see, I think, in this. I hope you can see that we have quite a few cherries this year that so far the birds haven't stolen all the fruit, and I hope to get some at least into the freezer. These are baking cherries, so they actually never turn bright red. And they do tend to be smaller, but I think it's even worse this year because of the lack of rain we've had here. So I will just walk towards the garden so you can see what's happening in our the rest. Oh, I forgot about this. This is our black currant plant. You can probably see that all of the currants are almost ripe enough to pick. There's some that are still red, some that are still working on it. Oh, there's a cherry that fell out of the tree. But things have been so dry here. A lot of the berries, even though there's quite a few of them, they are smaller this year. So that's unfortunate, but it's a fact of life this year. So over by the house, we also have some mint growing, which has recovered nicely since it's been getting some watering. And we also have some Jerusalem artichoke that's growing here as well. This is some catnip, and beside it here is some of the giant mullein or mullein. This year it's growing right up by the house. And we'll move on to the actual garden. So last year I was lucky enough, one of my neighbors gave us some blackberry plants. I've never had any success whatsoever with blackberries, so these ones survived last summer in the heat, and I have a few more growing as well over here. There's another bigger one that's got a lot more leaves on it. And then I also have over here, I transplanted quite a bit of the rhubarb, but as you can see, there's still a lot growing, although, like I said, this is really dry. We had a rainstorm last night, but it's been really infrequent. We have some red currant plants as well, and those are almost ready for picking. Again, the berries are quite small, but there are a lot of them. And then we have some Saskatoons, which are just ripening. This plant really doesn't produce very much in the way of actual berries, but it does grow a lot, and it seems overall to be pretty healthy. So I don't that maybe is looking not too good, but I try not to interfere with it too much. Yeah, we have some more berries here on this plant. This tends to be doing better. Yes, this is catnip. I have millions of catnip plants that grow wild here on our property. And then over here, we have some more currants and also some josta berries and some gooseberries, which are growing. Like I said, I have so many wild catnip plants. I also have, last year I was gifted some plants, and this one here is a garden variety of, I can't remember its name. Okay, well, it'll come to me. Anyways, I have wild versions of this. Oh, it's yarrow. So this is the commercial product, so it doesn't have medicinal values, but it has grown from a tiny little plant that fit in this little square here last year to a huge plant. And the other thing that came with it at the time was this little tiny plant here of, I don't know if they're violas or if they're violets, but in any case, or pansies even. In any case, they're here, and they apparently really, really like it amongst all these weeds. And again, like I said, a sea of the catnip. So just hang on, I'm just going to move to this part of the garden. Sorry if it's bumpy. It will be. I have poppies coming up all over the garden in different places where the seed scattered. So that one's almost ready. I just transplanted some tomato plants here recently, so they're looking a little bit sad, along with this oregano that my friend donated to me. And then there's another type of tomato and one more variety of tomatoes. There's a poppy that's really going to be beautiful. It's already got some buds there that you can see. And then I have some asparagus also that I planted last year, and that's also doing really well. I'm just going to pull back for a minute because the dog is going to be in here in a second. Okay, sorry about the movement. Oh, there's our guineas. They're out and about as they are every day, going wherever they like in the garden or on the property itself. Okay, so I was going to show you. Sorry about the dogs. Okay, so I also transplanted some comfrey, which doesn't seem to be up yet. Transplanted some kale. Seems to be hanging on. There's some poppies coming up. Oh, I had some borage that came up from seeds from last year that must have fallen in the garden. And as you can see down here, there's several blossoms that are developing on that one. Again, sorry about the dogs. This happens every day. Oh, and now the guineas. So I was saying that I transplanted some comfrey, or I may not have said that, but I'll say it now. I cut up several pieces of comfrey root and planted them. They're in a little kiddie pool, so I'm trying to contain the root action because I understand that once you have comfrey, it can overwhelm your garden. And then over here I have some comfrey that's trying to come up through the ground. It's been so hot. I hope that plants are going to make it. Here's another borage. It's a little bit smaller than the others. This is some evening primrose that came up again from last year. Last year I was gifted some plants and they seem to be holding on. Over here I have a Hungarian pepper, and this is I can't remember what this is called. I was gifted tomatillo. Tomatillo. And I have some strawberries. I was gifted some starts last year, and it was so hot. I actually thought all the plants had died. But this year they started to come up again, so I covered them with some light mulch. And I did have some berries on here. I don't know if they're still. The birds might have taken off of them. I did have some. But I never had a chance to pick them yet, so that's the way it is sometimes. I believe this is echinacea I have coming up here. I can't 100% say that that's true. And I have a very vigorous plant that overwintered, feverfew, which was a surprise to me because my understanding was that overwintering this plant would be difficult in this climate. However, it came back bigger and badder than last year. This one, however, was about the same size as that one in the spring, and that one just took off, and this little guy didn't. I have a few other plants here. I'm not really sure what they are for certain. I guess I'll find out when they actually bloom. And then I have, wow, these are really dry. I have these, I believe these are bee balm that I planted last year, sorry, in planters, and then transplanted in just before the winter arrived. And then over here, I have quite a few poppies again coming up. And of course, various weeds. Yeah, surprise. These poppies are really, they can get really full and big. And they can also be, I have this other type here that are quite small and delicate looking at the same time. So there's more than one variety in here. And then way back under all this are some transplanted lilac trees that I put in last summer in the heat. And so far they're just holding on. All these weeds around them, I think, protect them to a certain extent, just like the mulch does in the raised beds. So there's a lot happening here, even though it seems like not very much is going on this side of the garden. I don't know if I can even show you from here. But okay, guess I can. Sorry about the movement. I'm trying not to jiggle things around too much. This is my one blueberry plant. I actually had it in a planter for a long time, like probably 2 years before it was planted out. So it's just kind of holding on, and not too much activity is happening around it. Over here I have some raspberries, which you can see are really starting to fill out despite the fact that we haven't had much water. So I'm kind of hopeful for those. I don't know what's going to happen. We have more of those red currants developing here. And over here it's just a jungle. Sorry. A jungle of weeds and raspberry bushes. A lot more currant plants over there, and jostas. I have things coming up in the compost. So there's a lot going on here, and of course no time to actually deal with any of it. So it is what it is. But I did want to do some kind of a garden update, just so that people have an idea of what's happening here at the farm. I had done a video a couple of weeks ago about the day that I went and dug up the comfrey plants just off of my property, and at the time there was a lot of heat then too, and I wasn't sure if any of them would even take. And so I was pleasantly surprised to see that actually, despite the heat and the lack of water, and my dogs, that the comfrey is coming along just fine. It's hard to believe, but I think they're gonna make it. But I have to protect them from the dogs, because this is what happens with one of my dogs when she gets bored and she's unsupervised. This is what happens. And it's happened more than once, so it's really annoying. And we absolutely have to protect the plants. She can't seem to resist this. We just cleaned this up, this kind of mess, recently, and it still looks like that. So I showed you the main garden. This is yellow strife, I believe it's called. Yeah, it does have a lot of grass growing around it, but it comes up every year. I actually don't like this, and apparently it's invasive, and I can see why. Because I have to cut it back every year, and every year it looks like this ginormous plant that just goes on and on. And then over here, like I said, it's really dry. We also have an Italian plum tree or I guess it's Italian prune tree. And so we have quite a bit of fruit that has set, so we'll see what happens in a little while. We also have one apple tree that's still able to produce. Sorry, excuse the mess. One apple tree there, one pear tree there, and we have one other really large, you can't see it from here, but it's a really large crabapple tree. So I only have one other set of flowers that I was going to show you, or plants anyways, that I was going to show you. And it's over here. So these are supposed to be I think it's canna lilies. So I believe these are the red ones. There should be red, green, and variegated. So I'm not sure how these are going to turn out. I actually got these plants as little tiny root systems at a thrift store for $1 a package. So I ended up with 6 plants, but the same dog that got into those other planters also got into those ones. So the last of my plants that I was going to show you are just some, I believe they're called tiger lilies. And they're just in the process of starting to bloom. I don't know, they're having a really hard time this year because, again, it's so dry. I haven't been watering this area very well. I have to hand water everything. So it's definitely been a struggle. This is a Chinese lantern. It comes up every year. They're not my favorite plant, but they are loyal apparently. So I think that's about it for today's update. I just wanted to give people an idea of what's happening here at the farm. We have been really busy with the sheep and also with the chickens. We have a lot of chicks that we've been raising, silkies, and our newest birds, the Hmong birds. I'm not even sure I'm saying that right. It's HMONG birds. And they've been a new addition to our farm. We've never had those before. And so I got some chicks this spring. And so I'm interested to see how they grow and develop. They're supposed to be a meat bird that has, I think it's blue colored meat. Anyways, they're a specialty bird, so it'll be interesting to see how things turn out. But I just wanted to give people an idea of what's happening. Okay, so I think that's it for tonight. And I hope everybody stays safe and happy and well.